like, some people will always like a book better than a movie, and some people will like a movie better than a book. But like, I think that like we just did our best, the book, and honor the fans, and I think really make something that works even by itself. We all haven't believed that if you read the book and you saw the movie that you wouldn't be thrilled. Like, we really worked hard on that. Yeah. But I also saw the movie and then read the book. You wouldn't go, hold on, this isn't like, you can really, like, you can do either because they're both really beautiful.
Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. So guess what? Blake is back in the spotlight again, and surprise, surprise, she's pushing for sanctions once more. Honestly, I've lost count. This has to be the 7th, or maybe even the 8th attempt at this point. This time, she's demanding sanctions over the birth video Wayfarer turned over in Discovery, which she says either isn't what she originally saw, or she just genuinely doesn't remember seeing it the same way. The moment I read this filing, it immediately brought me right back to that motion she dropped recently about the so-called smear campaign. You know, the one involving the Signal chat group? In that filing, she basically asked the judge to forbid the defendants from even denying the smear campaign happened, arguing that because they used Signal and supposedly had disappearing messages turned on, it proves malicious intent and that anything missing must automatically be in her favor. According to her, the fact that some messages weren't saved automatically equals guilt. So she wants jury instructions and money and consequences, and pretty much the whole legal kitchen sink thrown in. So here's the sequence. She files this big dramatic motion, and then Wayfarer turns around and asks for an extension to respond. They wanted to push their reply until after their summary judgment motions and responses were filed. And the judge was like, yeah, sure, that works. And interestingly, Blake didn't object to them getting extra time, which, to me, just reinforced what I've been saying all along. This whole thing felt like a PR stunt from the start, because now they don't have to respond until late November, or maybe even December. So we get to last night's motion, late evening filing. And again, it's centered around Jamey Heath and this birth video. And honestly, the vibe is the exact same. And let me just clarify something. I'm not pulling this out of nowhere. This whole strategy instantly reminded me of the lawsuit I'm dealing with personally right now. I went through summary judgment myself, and about half of my claims were dismissed while the rest moved forward, because the court said there were factual disputes that needed to be addressed. We asked for reconsideration, and the judge actually granted it, which is really rare and usually a pretty big signal that maybe something wasn't handled correctly the first time. So we filed our motion for reconsideration. And we laid out in detail all the constitutional issues being violated. Freedom of press, freedom of speech, even freedom to boycott. All issues of law, not fact. Then the other side responded. Everything was fully briefed. And just as it's headed to the judge, they randomly file a temporary injunction demanding the court silence me, claiming that my reporting hurt them so badly that they had to delete all their social media, and insisting I'm causing this wave of hostility and aggression toward them. They even denied being under federal investigation, even though Robert Shin is under federal investigation. Their request: silence me entirely, fully gag me. They literally told the court there was no federal investigation. So we went to court like 2 weeks ago, and we had to present proof that their lawyers in California told the court there was a federal investigation, that the FBI sent a target letter, that there was a forfeiture notice from U.S. Postal Inspection Services tied to Robert Shin. And this is what happens when someone feels like they're losing. They throw wild accusations hoping to sway the judge emotionally. To me, it's a last-ditch poison-the-well move. Like, judge, she's the problem. Ignore her legal arguments because look how mean she is. And honestly, that's exactly what Blake's latest filing feels like. She has a dispositive motion hanging over her head. A motion for judgment on the pleadings, and it could wipe out her sexual harassment and retaliation claims under FE law, especially because the law doesn't apply extraterritorially and she didn't sue the right entity. She also never filed a letter with the EOC, never got a right to sue letter for It Ends With Us, and her own second amended complaint says her claims are tied to the December 20th notice, which did not list the correct employer. So yeah, there is a lot at risk if the judge rules on the pleadings, and even more once summary judgment hits. And when someone's case starts slipping, one very predictable move is to start building a narrative. If I lose, It's not because my case was weak, it's because they obstructed me and hid evidence. That's exactly the tone here. So yesterday, she files yet another sanctions motion, this time aimed at Jamey Heath, claiming he didn't turn over the birth video she remembers, even though we've seen before that Blake's memory isn't always reliable, and sometimes she seems to create facts out of sheer belief instead of evidence. I've seen this firsthand. She publicly accused me of being part of a smear campaign, said I was being paid by Wayfarer to talk about her, and none of that was true. She filed 107 subpoenas, and the one involving me got withdrawn real fast once she realized she had no basis. So now, once again, we're watching Blake demand sanctions against the Wayfarer team for allegedly not producing documents and videos she insists exist, even though there's no proof beyond what she thinks she saw or remembers. And honestly, this part hits me in a different way, because now it feels like Blake's move puts Natasha Heath in a really uncomfortable position. If there really is a longer video out there, and if Natasha is fully naked in it, what does it say about Blake pushing so hard to drag that into the public record? It raises a whole new ethical question. Like, why fight this aggressively to expose another woman's private moment, her childbirth no less? So here's what Blake's team is asking the court to do. Miss Lively respectfully requests sanctions against Jamey Heath, under Rule 37 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, for failing to comply with the court's August 27th order, compelling him to turn over certain materials. They claim the video Jamey showed Blake on set was footage of his wife giving birth at home, fully nude, without warning or her consent, and that the court ordered it to be produced by September 20th, 2025. But according to them, Jamey only turned in a short, 3-minute clip, and a lot of it is blacked out, so we can't see anything. We're left filling in the blanks again. And after what happened with the Claire audio situation, we know darked out evidence did not exactly help Blake's credibility. Blake keeps insisting the video Jamey submitted is not the same video he supposedly showed her on set, and after weeks of his lawyers saying no other footage exists, Jamey apparently admitted during his deposition that there is more video, but his legal team is refusing to turn it over because they claim the court order doesn't require it. Blake's team argues that's absolutely not true, that Jamey introduced the video by showing it at work without consent, so he put it at issue and must turn it over. They also say it's not fair for everyone, the court, the jury, and Blake, to have to just take Jamey's word that the clip he provided is the same one she saw, especially since it supposedly doesn't line up with her memory at all. So what she's doing here is laying out a textbook factual dispute. They're essentially telling the court, this isn't a legal issue, it's a fact issue. And fact issues mean a case doesn't get dismissed, it goes to trial. And I get this from my own case experience. When someone's trying to avoid dismissal, they will twist anything into a fact question, so a judge can't throw it out as a matter of law. Blake is setting the stage to say, well, that's not how I remember it. And Jamey will respond, no, this is what I showed you. Then a jury has to decide who's telling the truth. It really feels like Blake worries that whatever evidence exists can't actually support her claims, so she's trying to force the case forward anyway. Her filing continues, building the narrative that she's been deprived of evidence, that she couldn't question Jamey properly during the deposition, and therefore she's at a disadvantage, because in her framing, she's the victim here yet again. The thing is, Jamey's side already admitted, he showed her a video that was never in dispute. They even submitted a screenshot, shared the chat about the scene, and included texts, so this wasn't a surprise situation to anyone. And Blake herself described in her complaint that he played a video of a naked woman giving birth. She thought it was porn at first and stopped him, and he told her his wife wasn't weird about it. Then she and her assistant walked away shocked. But Wayfarer said what Blake actually saw on set was just a still frame before she shut it down. And in that moment, Natasha wasn't nude. So Blake is now saying, actually, that's not what I remember. And she's trying to reframe the facts, instead of responding to Wayfarer's dismissal argument directly. And here's the strategy. If she can convince the court that this is a fact dispute, the judge can't dismiss the case. It has to go to trial. Wayfarer already pointed out in their dismissed complaint that Blake's original description made it sound like pornography. and they argued it was unfair and false, saying the full birth video is beautiful, not sexual. They turned in a 3-minute 30-second clip. Blacked out, yes, but handed over in good faith as the ordered evidence. Plus a snapshot in their public filings. Blake's side is now essentially yelling, "Nope, that's not the footage I saw." They argue opposing counsel refused to dig further, without more detail, so they're trying to force sanctions, claiming Jamey withheld material evidence. And what do they want? For the court to order Jamey to hand over every version of the birth video within 3 days. And here's the big one: to block Jamey from submitting any testimony or evidence about what he showed Blake, meaning Blake's version would be the only version a jury hears. She wants the judge to silence Jamey, so there's no dispute and her memory becomes the truth. We're essentially supposed to accept Blake's recollection, even though, as we've seen before, her memory has been wildly inconsistent in this very case. They cite legal precedent and argue that because she didn't get to review the footage before deposition, she's been prejudiced. Again, planting the fact issue seed in the judge's mind. They say if Jamey won't comply, then Blake should get harsher penalties in her favor, including treating her version as established fact. To me, it's obvious. She's trying to get ahead of summary judgment. She wants the judge believing this case can't be decided on law, that it must go to trial, and if she loses, she can say she only lost because evidence was withheld. It's a strategic narrative shift. I'm not losing because my claims lack merit. I'm losing because they didn't give me what I needed. So instead of accepting the evidence might not support her story, she's arguing the absence of evidence proves her story. This whole thing actually reminds me of when the judge flat out said Blake wasn't entitled to sanctions over her deleted signal messages because she never established that the deleted evidence would have helped her case, or even proved what she claims happened. She couldn't show compelling proof or a legitimate reason. And this feels like the same pattern. To me, it reads more like a PR stunt than a genuine legal strategy. They included emails going back and forth. And while we can't see Jamey's full testimony, Wayfarer's response on October 29th, right before Blake filed this, made their stance crystal clear. They basically told her, "The court ordered us to produce the video referenced in our amended complaint. And we did. The video shows Jamey, his wife, and their newborn, after she gave birth at home. That clip was given to you over 6 weeks ago. We have complied fully. There is no other footage that falls under your request, so nothing else will be produced." So Wayfarer is standing firm. That video is the one shown, and there is no secret additional clip that Blake keeps insisting exists. And at the end of the day, Blake is back demanding sanctions, because she says what's already been provided won't prove her claims. She's essentially telling the court, what they gave me doesn't help me win, so give me something else. She's trying to argue that she doesn't have the evidence she needs to prove she was shown pornography, when even she knows and everyone knows that this wasn't porn. And honestly, the idea that Jamey randomly whipped out a 30-minute naked childbirth video on his phone on set just does not line up with how quickly the interaction allegedly happened. She supposedly saw 1 second and shut it down. To me, again, this feels more like public theater than truth-finding. And when I really sit with it, what makes this so upsetting is how unfair this is to Natasha. Natasha isn't even a party to this case, but Blake is trying to spin the narrative like, this is Jamey's fault. He made this an issue by showing me that video. When in reality, Blake is asking the court to hand her a nude childbirth video so she can show that video to a jury. A video she insists she needs because she claims the one she has isn't the one she remembers. She is taking a deeply personal, raw, beautiful moment, a woman giving birth, and framing it like something sexual and deviant, calling childbirth basically pornographic, mocking Wayfarer's description of it as beautiful. It's honestly gross. Imagine being Natasha. You didn't sign up for this. You weren't part of the lawsuit. You didn't accuse anyone of anything. You simply lived your life, had your baby at home, and now you're being dragged through mud because a Hollywood actress wants to win a PR war. And on top of that, in Blake's movie, she already referred to Natasha as sloppy seconds, based on a totally inaccurate version of how Natasha and Jamey met. The real story: Natasha is a professional dancer. She met Justin when she was working. He invited her to a faith-based event, not a date. He wasn't pursuing her, wasn't romantically involved with her. Natasha ended up loving the Baha'i spaces she joined. And through that environment, she and Jamey connected. They bonded through spiritual practice, not through some messy love triangle. Blake labeled those same bonding exercises, looking into each other's eyes, sharing emotional truth, as sociopathic. When actually, if you hear how Natasha describes that memory, it's touching and meaningful. Natasha helps women postpartum, uplifts new mothers, and embraces deep cultural traditions from her South American roots. She radiates warmth and care. She doesn't deserve to have the most sacred moment of her life twisted and weaponized. So when Blake positions this like, well, Jamey made me need this video, it rings hollow. This is punishment. This is retaliation. This is humiliation. Because she doesn't have a strong case and she knows it. The leaked audio didn't prove abuse. It showed Jamey under massive stress, trying to keep the movie release from blowing up because of drama Blake was stirring. It showed him trying to hold things together, not acting like some monster. So this feels like revenge. And Natasha is being caught in the crossfire for absolutely no reason. Anyone who follows Natasha online knows she pours her heart into supporting women. Meanwhile, Blake, a woman, is actively trying to degrade another woman publicly. It's honestly disgusting. And I really hope Wayfarer claps back hard. I hope they defend Natasha. I hope they call out how cruel this move is. Because this crosses a line. Natasha, if you ever see this, you deserve none of this. Your love story is beautiful. Your family is beautiful. Your birth experience is valid and sacred. And your work lifting up mothers is powerful. Don't let someone who's spinning a Hollywood narrative steal that from you. There are so many people rooting for you and supporting you. Now, the judge has also entered final judgment. He denied Blake's request under the New York Times rule to allow Wayfarer to appeal immediately. He basically told her team, there's no prejudice in waiting, and appeals will happen later, after he rules on attorney fees, for Leslie, for Ryan, and for Blake. So everything will be appealed together down the line, not piece by piece now. That's where things stand. So tell me, is this just another desperate PR swing from Blake? Or do you think she genuinely believes Wayfarer is hiding evidence? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you never miss updates. Thanks for watching. Love you, besties.